We need to call out, God, come to my assistance. Lord, make haste to help me. As religious, we cry that out at every beginning of our liturgy of the hours. Or you can simply cry out, Lord, come to our aid. Or God, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Begging God's grace, but not only calling on prayer, relying on our friends, our family, those we love. It's such a gift to have those around you who want to support you and encourage you to that life of virtue. How I wish it were already ablaze. Are we zealous for God? Are we zealous for souls? Are we willing to sanctify our daily lives and to draw deeper in to this mystery of the salvation of souls? And so when we look at this, we see that there's a positive and negative dimension of this separation that God is pointing us towards here. That He has come to separate father from son, mother from daughter, mother-in-law from daughter-in-law. The negative dimension is that we must stand with God, we must stand with truth, we must stand with right reason and not the ways of the world. Again, so many times as a priest, we hear someone come to us and say, Father, can I go to my son or daughter's wedding? Can I go to this wedding? And very simply, we just simply ask, is it a sacramental wedding? If it's a sacramental wedding, then you can go, right? If not, you can't go. Right? Why? Because there's an abuse that would be taking place. Right? It would be a mockery of the sacrament. And so when we look at these realities of a person wanting to get married outside of the church or might be in a situation of divorce and remarriage, again, we support them with our love and prayers. We can send them a card saying, we are so glad you are trying to follow God in the way that you know best, but there's a better way, there's a fuller way. And we'd love to have that conversation with you. But to recognize for us to put the things of God before the things of man. So there may be times in our own families that we might have to separate ourselves from family members or friends because they are choosing the way of the world over the way of God. One of the other unfortunate things that we hear often as priests is that people will tell us, oh, I didn't make it to church this weekend because I was visiting my grandchildren or kids or family members or whoever, and they don't go to church, so I missed Mass this Sunday. No, we must stand with God. We must be willing to offend in order to draw close to God. So the negative dimension is that there may be times where we may have to let a family member or friend stay where they are, connected to the world, while we stand and hold to the truth. The positive dimension of separating father from son, mother from daughter, mother-in-law from daughter-in-law is the love that exists. You imagine this great love between a father and a son and a father. When I told my parents that I wanted to be a priest, I was met with some resistance. Oh, nothing like some of the great saints. You know, there were saints that were locked in towers and were forbidden to go to the monastery. No, my dad was just really downfallen because he wanted grandchildren. You know? But again, my dad was willing to separate himself from me and to let me go, to come forward, to follow where God was calling me. Even in situations where people may not be open to the direction you're going, if we have prayed, if we've taken counsel and recognized that this is the voice of God and we are being called this way, we should go, even if it costs us tremendously. Again, men, we have a role. And so many times we neglect our role of men of prayer, leaders of God, and leave it to our spouses. So we have a greater call for us to be more integrated as men in our spiritual and natural lives, that we invite God into all of these things. We put things of God before the things of the world. Again, there's so much compromise in our world. We have compromised so much and allowed so many worldly activities into our life. And then pray for a new Pentecost. Pray that the sacrament that lies dormant in the hearts of so many, whether they're steeped in sin or just not knowing out of ignorance, that God will pour out the graces to send a new Pentecost upon this world, to set it aflame, that the same works that happened with the Acts of the Apostles will come to life in not their lives, but our lives. That we go out and boldly proclaim, not being afraid of death, not being afraid of rejection, not being afraid of imprisonment or loss of property or jobs, but rather being more afraid of offending God than anything else. In a commentary on this very gospel, Pope Benedict XVI says, "The fire is set ablaze when we speak the truth. Fire is set ablaze when we speak the truth, like the prophet Jeremiah, who was punished for it. The message of the church is there precisely. The message of the church is there precisely in order to conflict with our behavior and to tear man out of his life of lies and to bring clarity and truth. Truth makes demands. It also burns. Christ comes to divide us from whatever keeps us from him. When we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, that's when the fire will burn brighter." Mother Teresa says there's a strange paradox. When you love until it hurts, hurt ceases and only love remains. When you love until it hurts, hurt ceases and only love remains. Love deeply, but be loved deeper.